Mom, 737. That was the entire text message. Across the room. My ex-husband Ryan raised his glass and laughed. Careful, everyone. Claire still thinks she's some kind of secret agent. A few people chuckled. For 15 years, he had mocked my Navy career, telling anyone who would listen that I was nothing more than a paperwork officer pretending to be important. But my smile disappeared the moment I saw those three numbers. 737 wasn't random. It was a distress code. A code I had taught my daughter when she was 8 years old. Then, an older man near the window suddenly stood up. He looked at my phone, and the color drained from his face. My name is Claire Mitchell. I was 42 years old that night, and for most of my adult life, I served as a naval intelligence officer. The funny thing about intelligence work is that when you do it well, nobody sees it. There are no dramatic homecomings, no crowds waiting at airports, no stories you can casually tell over dinner. Most of what I did stayed behind locked doors, buried inside reports I would never be allowed to discuss. Ryan hated that. Not because he knew what I had done. Because he didn't. After our divorce 6 years earlier, he turned my silence into a joke. According to him, I had spent my military career pushing paper and pretending to be important. At first, I argued, then I stopped. I learned that some people don't want the truth. They want a version of it that makes them feel comfortable. Ryan preferred a version where he was the accomplished one, and I was the woman who exaggerated her past. Unfortunately, our daughter grew up hearing those stories. Not all of them, but enough. Emily always loved me, yet I could see the confusion in her eyes as she got older. Every sarcastic comment from Ryan planted another seed of doubt. That hurt far more than anything he ever said about me. Years earlier, when Emily was only 8, I taught her a simple emergency system, nothing complicated, just a few number combinations she could send if she was scared, trapped, or unable to explain what was happening. I hoped she would never need it. In 8 years, she never once used it, until tonight. The music from the birthday party continued around me. People laughed, glasses clinked, someone brought out another tray of food. Yet all I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat, because Emily had sent 737, and children don't send emergency codes for fun. I looked around the crowded backyard. No Emily, not near the pool, not near the patio, not inside the house. Then I looked back at Ryan. For the first time all evening, he wasn't smiling. I walked directly toward Ryan. "Where's Emily?" The question was simple. His answer wasn't. He forced a laugh and glanced around at the guests. "Seriously, she's 16. Claire, you act like she's behind enemy lines." A few people chuckled. "I didn't." "Where is she?" Ryan took a sip of his drink. "I don't know. Probably hiding from another one of your military safety lectures." More laughter. The old ache settled in my chest. Not because strangers were laughing. Because they were laughing at a version of me Ryan had spent years creating. The paranoid ex-wife. The woman who couldn't let go of her military past. The woman who saw danger everywhere. I pulled out my phone. Emily sent me 737. For the first time, Ryan's eyes flickered. Only for a second, but I saw it. Then he shrugged. "Maybe she's making fun of you." The older man near the window suddenly stopped moving. His gaze shifted from Ryan to me. "You said 737, he asked quietly. I nodded. Ryan rolled his eyes. "Please don't encourage this." Ignoring him, I continued scanning the property. The backyard was crowded. The pool area was empty. The upstairs balcony was empty. Then something near the detached garage caught my attention. A silver bracelet? Emily's bracelet. I recognized it immediately. I had given it to her on her 14th birthday. The chain was broken. It lay on the concrete a few feet from the garage door. My stomach tightened. I walked toward it. Ryan followed. "Claire, stop making a scene." I picked up the bracelet. "Why is this here?" He didn't answer. The garage door was shut, locked. The music from the party suddenly felt distant. I stepped closer. There were faint scratch marks near the lower panel, fresh ones, the kind that hadn't been there earlier. I knocked hard. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. Behind me, guests began watching. Conversations faded. Ryan forced another laugh. "It's a garage. Then open it." His smile vanished. "Don't be ridiculous. Open it." For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then the older man stepped forward. His voice was calm, too calm. "Mr. Walker," he said, "why won't you open the door?" Ryan looked at him, and for the first time that night, he looked nervous. The older man took another step forward. Under the patio lights, his expression had completely changed. Gone was the polite smile he'd worn all evening. Now he looked focused, serious. "Open the door," he repeated. Ryan folded his arms. "With all due respect, sir, this is my house." The man didn't react. Instead, he turned toward me. "Claire Mitchell." I nodded. His jaw tightened slightly. "I thought I recognized you." A strange silence settled over the guests. Ryan looked confused. "You know her?" The man ignored him. "My name is Daniel Mercer," he said. "Retired Rear Admiral." Several heads turned immediately. Even Ryan straightened. I recognized the name at once. Years ago, during a multinational evacuation operation in the Mediterranean, Admiral Mercer had overseen part of the command structure connected to our intelligence unit. We hadn't worked side by side often, but we had crossed paths. Mercer looked back at Ryan. "You said she was a paperwork officer." Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "Well, basically, no." The Admiral's voice was calm. "But that's a very convenient story." The guests had stopped talking entirely. I could hear the hum of the pool filter in the distance. Mercer continued. 15 years ago, there was an evacuation operation involving hundreds of American civilians trapped during a regional security crisis. Nobody moved. Intelligence failures were causing delays. Communications were collapsing. He pointed toward me. Lieutenant Commander Mitchell identified the error pattern and redirected the extraction route. Ryan blinked. The Admiral continued. That decision prevented multiple transport teams from moving into an active danger zone. I looked down. I had never liked discussing that deployment. Not because I was ashamed, because too many people had paid a price that week. Mercer seemed to understand. She never talks about it because the mission wasn't about recognition. His eyes returned to Ryan. But I was there. The words landed heavily. A woman near the buffet lowered her drink. Someone else exchanged a stunned glance with their spouse. Ryan's confidence was beginning to crack. "You can't seriously expect people to believe all this," he said. Mercer didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the locked garage. Then he looked at me. Claire taught her daughter a military emergency code for a reason. The Admiral's face hardened. "And if Emily sent that code tonight, we're done debating." He took out his phone. "Open the garage now," he said quietly, "or I'm calling the police." For a moment, nobody moved. Ryan stared at Admiral Mercer. Then he laughed. It sounded forced. "This is insane," he said. "My daughter isn't trapped. She probably locked herself in there because she's upset. No one laughed with him this time. Not a single person. The silence was louder than any argument. Mercer held his phone in one hand. "Open the door!" Ryan looked around for support. A few minutes earlier, the crowd had been his audience. Now, people avoided his eyes. His sister stepped back. A neighbor crossed his arms. For the first time all night, Ryan looked alone. Finally, with obvious reluctance, he pulled a key from his pocket. My heart dropped. A key. If Emily had simply wandered away, why was the garage locked? Ryan unlocked the door. The metal rolled upward. Halfway. Then all the way, Mom Emily's voice shattered the silence. She was sitting against the far wall. Tears streaked her face. The moment she saw me, she ran. I met her halfway. She wrapped both arms around me and held on so tightly I could barely breathe. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm here." Her shoulders shook. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she looked over my shoulder toward Ryan. The fear in her eyes told me everything. "Emily," Ryan said quickly, "tell them what happened." She didn't move. "Tell them." Still nothing. The room had gone completely silent. A champagne glass froze halfway to someone's lips. The only sound was the garage motor clicking as it cooled. Finally, Emily spoke. I texted Mom because Dad took my phone after we argued. Ryan's face drained. Emily continued. "He got mad when I said I wanted to spend more time with Mom. Nobody interrupted. Nobody looked away. He said Mom filled my head with military nonsense." A woman near the patio lowered her gaze. Emily swallowed. "Then he locked me in here until I calmed down." The words landed like a hammer. Ryan immediately shook his head. It wasn't like that. But nobody was listening anymore. Mercer stepped forward. "There's something else these people should know." Ryan's shoulders stiffened. The Admiral looked around the crowd. "For years, you've heard stories about Claire's military service." He paused. Most of them were lies. Then Emily quietly delivered the final blow. "I know they were lies," she said. Everyone looked at her. "Because I found Mom's service records last year." Ryan closed his eyes, and the room became even quieter. Nobody said a word for several seconds. Ryan stood in the middle of his own party, looking like a man who had suddenly forgotten how to speak. The confidence was gone. The jokes were gone. The audience was gone. Emily stayed beside me, her hand gripping mine. For years, I had imagined this moment differently. I thought that if the truth ever came out, I would feel vindicated, victorious. Instead, I mostly felt tired of defending a life that had never needed defending. Admiral Mercer finally broke the silence. "Your daughter trusted the one person she believed would come for her." Ryan lowered his eyes. No one argued. No one rushed to protect him. A few guests quietly gathered their things and left. Others avoided looking at him altogether. The social shield he had hidden behind for years had disappeared in less than 10 minutes. Ryan turned toward Emily. "I'm sorry." His voice cracked. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "I'm not ready to hear that yet." The honesty in her answer hurt. But it was honest. And honesty was something our family had needed for a very long time. Ryan looked at me next. "I never meant for this to happen." I nodded slowly. "I believe that." His face lifted slightly. Then I continued. "But not trying and not doing are two different things." The words landed softly, harder than anger ever could. I didn't yell. I didn't humiliate him. I didn't need to. People often mistake silence for surrender. Military service taught me otherwise. Restraint can be stronger than retaliation. That night, Emily came home with me, not because a judge ordered it, Not because I won an argument, because she made her own choice. A few weeks later, legal arrangements began to change. More importantly, so did our relationship. For the first time in years, my daughter stopped asking who was telling the truth. She already knew. The greatest victory wasn't that Ryan lost credibility. It wasn't that Admiral Mercer confirmed my service record. It wasn't even that an entire room learned the truth. The real victory was much smaller and far more important. When my daughter felt afraid, she remembered exactly who she could trust. And this time, she never had to send the code twice. If this story touched you, tell us which moment stayed with you the longest. Was it the text message, the garage door opening, or the moment Emily finally spoke the truth? We'd also love to know where you're watching from today. Stories like these remind us that dignity is not about being the loudest person in the room. Sometimes it's about standing quietly in the truth until the truth can stand on its own. If this story moved you, please leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy stories about honor, strength, family, and quiet justice, be sure to subscribe and join us for more powerful stories just like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story. One of the most valuable lessons in life is that truth does not need constant defense to remain true. Sometimes people will misunderstand you, underestimate you, or even rewrite your story to fit their own comfort. In those moments, it can be tempting to fight for approval, but real strength comes from knowing who you are and refusing to let others define your worth. The people who truly matter will eventually see your character through your actions, not your arguments. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment and share the lesson that has shaped your life the most. And if you enjoy stories about dignity, courage, honor, and quiet justice, please subscribe and join our growing community.